This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, super practical.
I'm not telling people to have a mistress. I'm teaching you, learn the lesson from the people who have a mistress, because there's many business lessons that apply.
Pious.
There's a part in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I want you either hot or cold. I'm spewing lukewarm churches out. And I think it's a good way to look at your list.
Romantic to his very core.
Once in a while, I'll give my girl a present, like a Snickers bar or something.
And totes tender.
If someone asks you to walk on eggshells, smash the eggshells and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Adored by feminists everywhere.
It takes a strong woman to admit when she's wrong.
Not a judgmental bone in his entire body.
I look at all the free information people give just on Facebook and I go, what a bunch of time hose.
Has a PhD in armchair philosophy.
In the land of dumbasses, the smartass is king.
You'll never meet a more sensitive guy.
If you really care about people, you shame the hell out of them. This is Ben Settle of the bensettle.com podcast. And so I do have a program out there, Jonathan. I'm sure you've heard it. You probably don't have it, but you've heard of it because I've promoted it so many times. And you, being a loyal reader,
yes, sir,
my stuff, called the 10-minute workday. You know this thing exists, I assume.
Yeah. That's the one that you did. You partnered with somebody to do that one, right?
Yeah, with AWAI. Yeah. I mean, which is interesting because the whole thing was their concept, their idea. I get all the credit for it, but the reality is all I did is create the product. The whole idea of the 10-minute workday was like a headline. They interviewed me once, and that was whoever wrote the copy gave me that title.
Nice.
Like, hey, you have a 10-minute work. I said, okay, I'll use that.
Hell yeah.
And it was one of their co-founders, Paul Hollingshead. It was like this idea of like clientless copywriters, it's totally his idea. And they came to me saying, look, can you help us create a program about this one email a day thing? None of this was my idea, but I get all the credit and I'm happy to take it.
That's right.
But the reality is it's all them. So I have the 10-minute workday. But since then, Jonathan, I have started following what I call a 10-mile workday.
Sounds like a lot.
This may horrify a few people, especially the couch potatoes and all that. But in June, I decided I'm going to walk 10 miles a day.
Really?
10 miles a day. During the summer. I mean, when it gets rainy and stuff, I'll probably cut it back to 3 days and, maybe actually have to find a treadmill or something. But yeah, so, I live in a town here right on the ocean, all that. So it's not like it's a miserable walk or anything other than the tourists and all that. But, I just have to deal with them, I guess. But yeah, people. But I can pretty much avoid them. I've become an expert at avoiding people. Like if I see somebody 50 yards away, I already have crossed the street and have a game plan for cutting down a different street. I don't want to acknowledge them. And I'll tell you why. It's not just because I don't like them.
Not just because of that.
But because I'm usually in my own head and I'm working on something in my head and they interrupt me. So, that's just how it goes. But I don't know if you'd call this episode a sales pitch for trying to get other people to try a 10-mile workday or not. But what I will do is talk about some things that have happened. And I've been doing this for 6 weeks. As the time of this recording, I've been doing it for six weeks. And, I plan to do it forever. Maybe not 5 days a week. I do it 5 days a week, but I might cut it back to 3. But it basically works out to 50 miles a week. So
wow,
there are some benefits to this. And even if you didn't do 10, just doing 1 a day, actually, I think 1 mile a day makes a huge difference. Now, first of all, I have been able to create a ton of content doing this. And, if you have a cell phone that has a video, camera on it, you get an idea. This is what happens. I start walking. I get an idea. Bam. I just talk into the camera for 5 or 6 or 7 minutes and I'm done. I'm creating content before I even need it. This stuff is all being used as, it'll be bonus fodder and that kind of stuff and premiums. For example, I'm creating it before I need it. And that's kind of.
So you haven't even used this stuff yet?
No. I have
kidding.
I've shot like 32 videos, 30, actually more than that. But just for one playlist on YouTube now, I have that's hidden, so people aren't able, they go on there looking, they're not going to find it. There's like 31 videos in there, and those I decided to call the El Bembo memos, and they're going to be. I was inspired by whoever that lawyer is who's going after Trump, that guy Comey or whatever, his memos. I'm doing the El Bembo memo. So, and it's just random stuff, but those are going to be bonuses for when I launch my second villains book. the sequel book.
Yeah.
And now again, I started this in June, and I'm not launching that until the new year. So I'm like 6 months ahead. And I don't have to think about it. By the way, this is something an interesting thought. There was a time, Jonathan, when I was so broke that I had like the worst car in the world. Like the thing like imploded on me one day, like the engine, like it was like some 92 Saturn or something. And it just imploded on me and like caught on fire and everything. It was kind of a mess. So I had to get a new car, right? Like right away. And so I asked my uncle, who, my uncle's pretty street savvy about stuff, especially like sales and things. And he goes, Ben, this isn't going to do you any good. And this was literally, let's see, we're in 2018. This was 17 years ago, and I still remember him saying this. He said, this ain't going to do you any good, but really the best time to buy a car is when you don't need to. Right? So it's like you get the better deal. You're not needy. You're not emotional about it. You're not in a hurry. You really don't care if you get the deal or not, which just makes your negotiation way better. And so I didn't have that going for me, but that is the same mindset of creating content before you need it. And these 10 mile work days allow me to do not. Now, people might think, well, Ben, how do you have the time to do this? Right? Well, first of all, I have a 10-minute work day. So that helps. This may not do people much good if they're working 60 hours a week at a job or something, but I still think people could get creative about this if they had to. So what I do is I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is I go and take a 5-mile walk. It takes me about an hour and a half. I'm an early riser, so I'm up at 5:30 anyway. It doesn't really matter. And there's no people out there at that time, which is really nice. And that's my first. And then I come home and I do whatever work I want to work on. And then later on in the day, in the afternoon, I do my other 5 miles. So it's not like I do 10 miles like in one shot, even though I'm not that nuts. But I am getting my 10 miles in. And again, I'm creating a lot of content. I don't do that every time, but whenever I get an idea, which is a lot, that's what I do. Which brings me to the next point. And that is the idea generation is off the charts, Jonathan. It's like I can't walk 20 yards without getting an idea for something else and something else. There's something about walking and just thinking, and suddenly you're just getting over. I've gotten ideas for a whole new set of novels I want to write. I've gotten ideas for a third villains book, which I'm going to write. I've gotten ideas for other products I want to create. I've gotten ideas for emails. I've gotten ideas for email players content. I've gotten podcast ideas, which, a lot of the podcasts I'll be doing henceforth were probably the brainchilds of a walk. And I don't know, there's something about it. I don't know if it's the clean air. I don't know what it is, but if you just let your mind wander and you say, look, you just tell your mind, I need ideas. And then you just let it go and start walking, you'll be amazed at all the ideas that come. Just amazing. I have a clearer head now, Jonathan, because I had a very fuzzy head before, depending on who you ask. But I do think more clearly, and I used to have trouble sleeping. Well, I shouldn't say I had trouble sleeping. I had trouble sleeping more than 6 hours a night or 5 hours a night for some reason for years. And I don't have my phone in my room or any electronics or just something for whatever reason. I just could not, I would love to be able to sleep in. I have the luxury of doing so, but I just can't do it. I wake up and it doesn't matter what day of the week it is or whatever. Well, now it's like I'm in bed and I sleep at least 8 hours, and it's good quality sleep. And that is an unintended benefit I didn't think would happen. Of course, there's, as you might guess, Jonathan, I've lost a little weight, burned some calories, burned some fat.
Not bad.
And I use an app, right? Edamando, which any app will do, but I use this thing called Edamando. And I don't do like all these people on Facebook and share it every day because nobody really cares. but I do. But I keep it for myself. And it shows me miles walked, how my average speed, and how much time. And it really only takes me about an hour and a half to do 5 miles. And that could go up. And it depends. If I'm sitting there shooting a lot of videos, it'll take me longer. If I'm walking my dog, it might take a little longer because I take her some couple of days of those weeks I take her. She's getting old. She's 13 years old. I can't be walking her 10 miles a day every day. But I do take her a couple of days a week. It may be a little more than an hour and a half, but basically an hour and a half. So it's 3 hours total of a day. And most people have that 3 hours. They just don't want to use it toward anything. But it also shows me calories burned. Now, I don't know how accurate it is. So to be honest, I really don't. I do know I'm walking through a lot of against really a lot of times 13, 14 mile per hour wind and sand. So it's not exactly easy, but I'm probably, according to the app at least, and I'm sure some fitness guy will, say I'm wrong about this, but whatever. There's only a few things I've been wrong about. This may be one of them, but it's showing me burning like 900 to 1,000 calories every time I do this.
Wow.
For the whole day, for 10 miles, which, I have found that my weight drops rapidly and I don't necessarily eat differently. I still have fun stuff to eat and it doesn't bother me too much. So, to me, I'd rather do that than sit there and eat carrots all day like a rabbit or whatever people do. That I would rather just walk the 10 miles. Lots of energy, way more energy than I used to have. And I had energy before, but now it's like off the chart energy. So to me, this just changes the whole game, Jonathan. And I know that it sounds crazy. I know that, oh God, 10 miles a day. I can't do it. I have the job to go to. Listen, I don't want to hear any excuses. All right. Walk to work and walk home from work if you can. I know people who work like 30 miles from home. Okay. Obviously, I'm not talking about them. But, if somebody just got up an hour early and went to bed an hour later and used that hour, both those hours to walk, they may not get 10 miles in, but I'm guessing you'd probably get a good 5 miles in or so, depending. Like I said, it takes me an hour and a half to walk 5 miles. So if somebody walked for 2 hours, that should actually be more than 5 miles, I would think. So, anyway, if you have a dog, you can walk the dog. It helps with that. Your dog will love it. But the bottom line is this, Jonathan. The 10-mile workday to me is a life-changing thing. I don't know if I'll keep doing this when the weather turns crappy or how I'll work this. I have gone when it's raining and stuff and actually almost prefer it because there's no people out there.
I bet.
There's like a monsoon coming in, but hey, there's just no people. I'm about ready to get taken out by a tsunami, but there ain't no people out there. And so it is. But that's what I'm going to do. Jonathan, I want to know if you have been inspired at all by this, or if you've been horrified by it and you're like, I'm not even going to look at that.
No.
Is this something now that you would consider, not maybe 10 miles, but just a daily 5 day, not daily, but 5 day a week walk?
I got the opposite problem. I'm here in Florida where if I went outside in the middle of the day, I'd melt.
Well, see, that sounds like hell to me, but especially the humidity. But that's the thing. So when it gets crappy out, I probably will, sack up and go to the gym and find a treadmill or something. Or I actually have a treadmill desk. It's just in storage. And I may pull that out and just do that for 10 miles a day. I don't know. But, so even if you live in the Everglades, wherever you're at, if you live in the tropics and all that, in the Amazon, it may not be as doable, granted. Or if it's really cold out and it's icy and there's blizzards, all I can tell you is this. The people who go and brave that weather the way I'm suggesting are the ones who have the most willpower and probably the mentally tougher people. And so it is. I hope to shame somebody. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing a very good job of this, but I do know that it changed the whole game for me. And one last thing it did. Now, I don't know about you, Jonathan. I don't know about the people listening to this. Okay, everyone's different. One of the problems, the challenges I had, and this started back in 2005 when I basically was done with having a job. So it was about 13 years ago. For a long time, I've always had this thing where I didn't have any structure to my day. Now, I work better with structure. I actually work a lot better if I have to go do ABC things every day. I have to go somewhere. I don't know. The busier I am like that, the better my day is structured, the more work I get done. Even though I should be able to just wake up and do whatever I want, it's not how I work. I got to have a schedule, very regimented schedule. It drives people nuts. It drives my dad nuts because he's like, hey, you want to go play golf? And I'm like, well, look, man, you need to let me know like 2 days in advance because I don't have that in my schedule. It's like, I got to have everything scheduled. Well, what this has done is it orders my day. It structures the day. I have this I get up, I walk, I come back, I work, I eat lunch, I rest for an hour or two, and then I go walk again. It's like a very structured thing. So people who like structure, if nothing else, it'll do that for you. But you'll get all the other benefits too. But that's my 10-mile workday. And I don't really expect a lot of people listening to this to do it. But for the 1 or 2 people who sack up and do it, let me know how it goes for you. And if nothing else, I suspect you'll get a lot of different ideas and you'll become better at what you do. Oh, and of course, you can listen to more programs. You can listen to my podcast, and all that. You can listen to whatever you want. But if it's on audio, you can go through programs over and over and over. And that's how you get the most value out of stuff. That's how I do. That's all I do, Jonathan, is I'll get something I like, latch onto it, and listen to it 10, 15, 20 times. And then I'll know it as well as the author. And that's how you get a deep knowledge of stuff, all from the 10-mile workday. So that's all I got for this time. I know that people are like shaking their head and side-eyeing me with this, but that's okay. That says more about them, Jonathan, than it does me. And next week is going to be the first of a two-part series. I mean, first of two-part podcast episodes in preparation and in anticipation of the sequel to my Villains book, which you can get at villainsbook.com. I believe it isn't. I don't know how you judge whether something's an Amazon bestseller or not, but I think it is. I mean, based on what I've seen at least. And I would highly suggest reading it. You can read it in one sitting. I mean, it's the fastest read in the world. But I'm going to go through all 10 of the traits of a charismatic and influential villain as I teach in that book. So we'll get deeper. Well, in some ways, it won't be as deep as the book, but at least it'll give you an idea of what it is and what the concepts are and the principles. And so that will be the next 2 shows. Not just next show, but the next 2 shows. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. So looking forward to that. Another bensettle.com podcast is in the can. We will be back in your earbuds next time.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To download yourself a free issue of Ben's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, which is going to show you 24 ways to write emails people eagerly read, click, and buy from, head on over to www.bensettle.com. Well, off you go. You know it makes sense.
This is the podcastfactory.com.